Here, it's pitch black and freezing cold. No oxygen, no water, no life. But James, the Webb Space Telescope, seems totally unaffected by these harsh conditions. Its main mission, to look back billions of years and find the very first galaxies in the universe, and to study the stars that form distant planetary systems. Hi everyone, I'm Miles Din. And the James Webb Space Telescope has just made a jaw-dropping discovery. A bizarre cosmic object wrapped in strange clouds, a star-planet hybrid. This weird object, named HS1256b, is actually a brown dwarf. Brown dwarfs are bigger than planets, but too small to be considered real stars. They glow faintly on their own and run quite hot. But they don't have the mass to fuse hydrogen like normal stars. That's what sets them apart. And despite the name, they're not actually brown. They can shine in many colors, most of which we can't even see with the naked eye. To us, their glow appears deep orange or magenta, so in our eyes, they look like fiery shades of orange or pinkish red. The brown dwarf we're talking about today is nearly 20 times the size of Jupiter. It orbits to red dwarf stars, taking a whopping 17,000 years to go around once. Astronomers first spotted this oddball back in 2016, but they didn't realize it was a brown dwarf at the time. That's why its puzzling red glow remained a mystery. Now, thanks to the James Webb, its true nature has finally been revealed. So, let's get to the good part: its clouds. Unlike Earth's water vapor clouds, this brown dwarf skies are filled with something totally different. Believe it or not, its clouds are made of sand. At first glance, this sand looks just like ours on Earth. But in reality, it's not the same at all. These clouds are packed with tiny grains of silicate minerals. Scientists have long suspected that exoplanets might have these exotic sand clouds. But Webb's data is the first solid proof. These silicate grains are likely quartz or other minerals. And they're tiny, less than 1 micron across. That's about the same size as the particles in smog here on Earth. This strange world also has an atmosphere containing water, methane, and all sorts of other gases and minerals. What's wild is, this atmosphere isn't stable. It's constantly shifting and changing. Even more amazing, scientists have found carbon dioxide here. That's only the second time CO has ever been confirmed on an exoplanet. And by the way, all this was made possible by the James Webb, an absolute powerhouse of a telescope. Its observing power, roughly 100 times stronger than Hubble's. Even though the telescope is 3 stories tall and about the size of a tennis court, its mirror is actually the lightest large telescope mirror ever built. When all 18 segments were finished during construction, its total mass had been cut by 92%. Each mirror segment weighs only about 20 kilos. They look golden, but they're not solid gold. The base material is beryllium, with just a thin coating of gold to enhance reflection. If they were made entirely of gold, it wouldn't work. Gold expands too easily when the temperature changes, making it unstable. Its total mass is 92% less than the original solid block. Each mirror weighs only about 20 kilos. The telescope's mirrors look golden, but they're actually made from a lightweight base material. Each one is simply coated with a thin layer of gold. But the mirrors can't be made entirely of gold, because gold expands and contracts, even with small temperature changes that would distort the mirrors. That's why the James Webb Space Telescope uses less than 56.7 grams of gold in total. The James Webb Telescope cools itself naturally during operation. Its temperature never rises above -187 degrees Celsius. That's cold enough to turn nitrogen into liquid. Surrounding the telescope is a giant 5-layer sunshield. It reflects sunlight as much as possible to keep the telescope cold. The telescope was launched near the equator, where Earth's rotation is fastest, giving rockets an extra boost. It orbits the Sun, over 1.6 million kilometers away from Earth. Once its fuel runs out, it will still keep orbiting the Sun indefinitely. On the other hand, even though the telescope wasn't designed for upgrades or maintenance, future robotic missions might refuel it, extending its lifespan, so it could work for much longer. You think the exoplanet we just discovered is the only strange and exotic one in the universe? Think again. There are plenty of other breathtaking worlds. One exoplanet in particular stands out. Just a glance at its striking magenta color tells you it's something special. This planet, GJ50 lies in the constellation Virgo. It orbits extremely far from its parent star, 9 times farther than Jupiter is from the Sun. It's also relatively young, still glowing from leftover heat. That's why its surface appears pink. PSRB 16-026b is one of the oldest exoplanets ever discovered. It's about 12.7 billion years old, nearly 3 times the age of Earth. That means this Genesis planet, as it's called, formed only about 1 billion years after the Big Bang. It's so ancient that its two parent stars have already evolved into a white dwarf and a pulsar. Just imagine the sunrise on that planet. It must be spectacular. Around 20 light-years from the Sun, there's a strange rogue planet wandering the Milky Way. Even though it doesn't orbit any star, it has an incredibly strong magnetic field, 4 million times stronger than Earth's. It even produces dazzling auroras. When it was first spotted in 2016, astronomers thought it was almost certainly a brown dwarf. But later, evidence showed its size wasn't quite enough to be classified as one. Still, among planets, it's an absolute giant. Its diameter is 1.2 times that of Jupiter, the largest planet in our solar system, and its mass is more than 12 times greater. Astronomers believe its powerful magnetic field is what creates its auroras. But the strangest thing is, those auroras form in a completely different way than on Earth. That might be because one of its moons is helping power those spectacular light shows. The next exoplanet is just as unique. It's often called Super Saturn or Saturn on steroids. It earned that nickname because J1407b has an enormous ring system, 640 times larger than Saturn's. This bizarre planet is the only one we know of so far with rings resembling Saturn's. If we swapped it into our solar system to replace Saturn, its rings would look many times larger than the full moon. From Earth's perspective, then there's WASP 1b, an exoplanet that devours the light from its parent star. It's one of the darkest planets humans have ever discovered. Here's why. That's because its day side absorbs light instead of reflecting it back into space. This massive exoplanet is enormous. About twice the size of Jupiter, it can absorb over 94% of the light that hits its atmosphere. That's likely the main reason why its surface temperature can soar to a blazing to 538.9 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, on the night side, things aren't quite as extreme. It's only about 1/204.4 degrees Celsius. This huge temperature difference between day and night size causes water vapor and clouds to gather. And sometimes, materials in its scorching atmosphere are flung out in swirling jets toward its parent star. Now that must be a breathtaking sight. Discovered in 2017, KELT9b is one of the hottest exoplanets we've ever found. Its surface temperature can reach a blistering 315.6 degrees Celsius. For comparison, the surface of our Sun is about 537.8 degrees Celsius. The reason this planet is so incredibly hot is most likely because it orbits its star, KELT9, at an extremely close distance. And KELT9 itself is far bigger and hotter than our Sun. Experts believe that one day this giant star could completely evaporate the planet away. Now imagine standing outside on a clear night, looking up at the stars. Even just the Milky Way is enough to make you feel tiny. You check your phone and realize the galaxy you're in right now is about 100,000 light-years across, and just 1 light-year is already an unimaginably huge distance. For example, from Earth to Proxima Centauri, the closest star is 4.2 light-years away. So, a scale of 100,000 light-years is way beyond what most of us can even picture. And that's just one galaxy. The universe holds countless others like it. Looking at these numbers, it's hard not to think that humans can't possibly be the only life out there. Right, but then why? Why haven't we found any other life yet? First, let's be clear, extraterrestrial life doesn't have to mean little green men. It could just as easily be microbes on another planet, bacteria, or even plants. In fact, life beyond Earth could take on many different forms. Think about it. With up to 50 billion planets possibly existing just in the Milky Way, the odds of us being the only life in the universe are incredibly slim. So then, what might life on other planets actually look like? That's the question we've been trying to answer for decades. Let's think this through together. A planet may not currently host life, but it could hold traces of organic matter or fossils, signs that life once thrived there. Some planets might even harbor life with complex biochemical structures. In other words, they could have ecosystems not unlike Earth's, though the species might be totally different. NASA even created an entire field dedicated to studying extraterrestrial life, astrobiology. Since NASA's founding in 1958, it didn't take long before the search for alien life began. They quickly laid out a game plan. First, figure out how life began on Earth. And second, explore how it might arise on other planets. NASA's first real attempt to search for life beyond Earth happened in 1976, when the Viking landers were launched toward Mars. Hopes were sky high. Many believed this mission might finally reveal the first solid proof that extraterrestrial life really exists. Unfortunately, the images sent back showed a barren, dry, and desolate Mars. A huge disappointment for scientists. The conclusions about whether Mars had life remained frustratingly inconclusive. But here's the thing. You can only find something if you know what you're looking for. That's the only way to find the target, isn't it? The failure of the Viking mission sparked heated debates among NASA scientists about how we should even define life. It also drew their attention to one tiny but critical detail. Spacecraft launched from Earth often unintentionally carry microbes and bacteria from our planet. These organisms cling to the spacecraft's surface. As it turns out, those microbes can contaminate the samples scientists collect. So they had to take this into account. These challenges push Mars exploration out of NASA's short-term plans for the moment. A new priority emerged instead. Space exploration programs needed to figure out what types and stages of life to look for. It's possible that scientists had already encountered life on other planets, but failed to recognize it as life. Because of this, NASA turned its focus inward, studying our own planet, from life forms billions of years ago to the living organisms thriving today. Everything in between. They realized that searching for alien life meant looking outward, but also looking inward. So let's take a step back and trace the journey of life on Earth from its very beginnings. Imagine this process as climbing a giant staircase. Each stage of development is like one step on that staircase. The first step is the chemistry stage, when Earth was like a bubbling chemical soup, filled with elements from the periodic table, floating around freely. But those elements needed to combine into more complex structures to begin self-replication, change, and evolution. The second step, microscopic life, begins. At this stage, microbes start to appear. The third step, single-celled organisms join together into multicellular ones. This made life far more complex and diverse. Later, some evolved highly developed brains, allowing them to use tools, build culture, and share knowledge. That's the stage humans belong to. Looking at this ladder of life, you might wonder, what does it take for multicellular organisms to evolve into fully developed humans? That's where the idea of the Great Filter comes in. The Great Filter is a massive evolutionary leap, one that requires extraordinary effort and the perfect conditions to succeed. Given that we've found no signs of other advanced civilizations, maybe humanity is the only species that's managed to cross that leap. So then, how likely is it to find alien life that's anything like us? It depends on how many planets fall within their star's habitable zone, since stars vary in size and structure. Each star system has a different habitable zone. But the habitable zone isn't the only factor in whether life can exist. Usually, scientists search for 3 key substances: liquid water, methane, and oxygen. Water allows chemicals to mix and react, leading to multicellular life. Methane comes from the breakdown of bacteria. Oxygen is a byproduct of plant respiration. These are exactly the signals the James Webb Telescope is designed to look for. The James Webb Telescope carries the monumental mission of reshaping space science. Its main goals include studying small galaxies orbiting the Milky Way to search for signs of life, and hunting for the oldest stars in the universe to gather clues about cosmic origins. It's without a doubt a groundbreaking mission. NASA is placing huge hopes on this new telescope. It focuses mainly on 2 directions. First, performing a comprehensive survey of exoplanets. Second, searching for level 10 life forms. Extremophiles were first discovered back in the 1960s, in the waters near the Galapagos Islands on Earth. At the time, scientists found microbes living near deep-sea hydrothermal vents. They discovered organisms that could survive there. To survive in temperatures exceeding 371 degrees Celsius takes extreme adaptations. Can you imagine that kind of heat? This discovery became a turning point for astrobiology. Scientists realized life can survive in incredibly harsh conditions, and those environments are similar to the atmospheres of many exoplanets. But if we're lucky, we might find signs of life within our own solar system. Following the rule "follow the water," NASA is carrying out 2 major missions inside the solar system. These 2 missions could make major contributions to the search for extraterrestrial life. Do you remember Jupiter? That giant, strange planet. It has a moon called Europa. A few years ago, scientists found that beneath Europa's thick ice lies a hidden ocean. More importantly, research shows the water in that ocean is like Earth's oceans, salty. That makes Europa a prime candidate in the hunt for life. However, the Europa mission's goal is to directly identify life. It will orbit the moon and gather as much information as possible about its atmosphere. The other moon mission is the Dragonfly probe. Dragonfly is an 8-rotor aircraft that will explore Saturn's moon Titan. The mission is slated to launch in 2027 and is expected to arrive in Titan orbit around 2034. It will sample and study several promising sites on this icy moon. Who knows? It could bring new discoveries to the study of extraterrestrial life. Let's wait and see. But one thing's for sure. We've never been closer to a major scientific breakthrough like this. Imagine, in a distant prehistoric age, aliens visited Earth. That's right. Supporters of the ancient astronaut theory believe intelligent extraterrestrials contacted humans thousands of years ago. Not only that, these visitors, they argue, influenced human civilization's development, religion, technological advances, and even changes to human biology might be traced back to them. In many ancient religions, what people called gods were, believers say, actually extraterrestrials with advanced technology that early humans mistook for deities, and structures like the pyramids, Stonehenge, and the Easter Island statues are often claimed to be alien handiwork. Ancient astronaut theorists also frequently claim that humans are either descendants of extraterrestrials or were directly created by them. They say aliens descended from the sky and jump-started human civilization. To support their claims, these proponents point to so-called out-of-time artifacts. They pick fragments from ancient art, legends, and unusual archaeological finds, claiming these are evidence that aliens visited. Of course, mainstream historians and archaeologists have perfectly reasonable explanations for all of these phenomena. But supporters of the ancient astronaut theory, to back up their ideas, supporters of this theory often point to so-called out-of-place artifacts. They pull examples from ancient art, myths, and even unusual archaeological finds, claiming they're proof aliens once visited Earth. Of course, mainstream historians and archaeologists have perfectly reasonable explanations for all of these. But fans of the ancient astronaut theory aren't convinced. Instead, they argue that the gaps in history and the mysteries we can't yet solve must be the result of alien activity. So, let's hear their side of the story. The most famous promoter of the ancient astronaut theory is Erich von Däniken. He wrote the best-selling book Chariots of the Gods*, which popularized the idea that many ancient gods were actually aliens. He even suggested these aliens were pale-skinned, with Aryan-like features. But the idea of ancient astronauts didn't actually start with von Däniken. Its roots go back to the late 19th and early 20th centuries, when early science fiction like Edison's Conquest of Mars and the works of H.P. Lovecraft were already exploring similar ideas. By the 1950s, the concept gained popularity, and during the space race of the 1960s, its influence spread even further, turning it into a global cultural phenomenon. By the 1970s, many critics had debunked von Däniken's claims, but his ideas still carried major influence among fringe groups. Surprisingly, some scientists today say the notion that aliens visited Earth long ago isn't entirely impossible, but they add, there's really no need for the theory. Those so-called historical mysteries can all be explained through science, archaeology, and human creativity without aliens at all. But ancient astronaut theorists often turn to religious texts, claiming that myths of gods descending from the heavens are really stories of extraterrestrials arriving on Earth. For example, the Sumerian tales of the Anunnaki, some believe, are actually about aliens mining gold on Earth and creating humans as their slaves. In Indian mythology, there are descriptions of flying machines called Vimanas. Theorists claim these were actually ancient spacecraft. Which brings us to the big question. Did aliens really visit ancient humans? Some people firmly believe the answer is yes, and they turn to the Bible for evidence. For instance, in Genesis it says, "The sons of God took the daughters of men as wives, and their offspring were the Nephilim, giants who roamed the earth." Some Christians interpret this as simply different groups of Adam and Eve's descendants, but others, including ancient astronaut believers, argue instead that these sons of God were actually extraterrestrials mating with humans, producing hybrid offspring. Half human, half alien. The King James Bible even translates Nephilim as giants. In the book of Enoch, which expands on Genesis, it says 200 angels called Watchers descended to earth, took human wives, and taught mankind metalworking, sorcery, astrology, and other forbidden knowledge. Because of this rebellion, the angels were imprisoned, and God sent a great flood to wipe out the Nephilim and humans who had learned these secrets. Ancient astronaut theorists say this story actually describes aliens who were meant only to observe humanity, but broke the rules and interfered with human society. Their offspring, they claim, were the Nephilim, these half-alien giants. Some even suggest that modern UFOs are piloted by these fallen angels, or their descendants, still wandering Earth today. Let's keep going. In the book of Ezekiel, or maybe their descendants, are still wandering the earth today. Let's keep going. In the book of Ezekiel in the Bible, the prophet Ezekiel describes a strange vision. A massive cloud of fire, filled with unusual creatures and shining gem-like wheels. These beings had 4 faces, wings, and legs like burnished bronze. The wheels that carried them were covered with eyes and could move in any direction without turning. Sounds like pure science fiction, right? Supporters of the ancient astronaut theory believe Ezekiel was actually describing a spaceship, possibly searching for life beyond Earth. Since the 1950s, this idea has been circulating. Some theorists even claim that the Ark of the Covenant, the sacred container of God's presence, was really an advanced piece of alien technology used for communication. They even group the Urim and Thummim, tools for speaking with God, into the same category. In the 1960s, some writers suggested that many biblical miracles and events were really the work of alien technology. Even more shocking, author John Allegro once suggested that Jesus himself was an extraterrestrial. He pointed to verses in the Bible where Jesus says, "I came down from heaven," and argued this was proof he was a visitor from space. Other supporters have even suggested that the biblical concept of hell was actually inspired by descriptions of Venus. Their theory is ancient aliens may have shown early humans images of Venus's scorching, uninhabitable surface, sparking mankind's imagination of hell. Some even claim that God and Satan were actually aliens in conflict, one trying to keep mankind from higher knowledge, while the other wanted to share it. This idea has even been compared to Greek mythology, where Prometheus defied the gods to bring fire to mankind. Some go further, suggesting that Adam and Eve's original sin in Eden was actually the result of aliens interbreeding with early humans. And then there's an even wilder theory. In Irish mythology, the Book of Invasions tells of the Tuatha Dé Danann, a mysterious race that arrived in Ireland, but according to some, this was actually aliens arriving on Earth. The legend says they came in dark clouds, blocking the sun for 3 days. Ancient astronaut believers say this might have been a description of a massive spaceship with cloaking technology. Others point out that ancient art is filled with hints of aliens. visiting Earth in prehistoric times. Let's take a closer look. Ancient astronaut theorists highlight that in cave paintings, the Kashinas may actually represent visitors from the stars. They argue that similar images found around the world prove aliens once visited multiple civilizations. In Australia, Italy, and elsewhere, researchers have found cave art that looks like astronauts in round helmets. Some believe these paintings show early humans encountering aliens in spacesuits. Another possible source of evidence is medieval and Renaissance art. Fans of the ancient astronaut theory claim that UFOs appear in many works of this era. For example, in the painting, Madonna and Child with the infant St. John, a strange object hovers in the sky. Some say it looks just like a flying saucer. In Carlo Crivelli's Annunciation, Bonaventura Salimbini's Trinity, and Masolino da Panicle's Miracle of the Snow, among other famous works. Similar unidentified objects can be found, but Italian art historian Diego Quoghi and other experts argue these objects aren't UFOs at all. They actually symbolize angels, or glowing clouds and other religious ideas. One of the most famous claims from the ancient astronaut theory is connected to the Nazca lines in Peru. These massive ground drawings show animals and geometric shapes. You can only really see them properly from above. Some people believe these giant lines were made under alien instructions. Some even claim the long straight lines were landing strips for alien spacecraft. But archaeologists argue there's no evidence to support that idea. They believe instead the Nazca lines were sacred sites for religious rituals. Researchers have even recreated a Nazca figure using only simple tools, proving the Nazca people themselves could have built them without aliens. But there's another puzzling practice to explain. Ancient civilizations, like the Egyptians and some Native American cultures, used to deliberately elongate children's skulls. Supporters of the ancient astronaut theory believe they did this to imitate the look of extraterrestrials. To them, aliens were seen as divine beings. They're often depicted with long, thin heads. Even Pharaoh Akhenaten and his oddly shaped family have sparked speculation of alien influence. But scientists suggest those unusual features were likely the result of genetic disorders. And with real inbreeding common in ancient Egypt, it would have made those conditions worse. Akhenaten is also famous for worshipping Aten, the sun god. Some suggest his obsession with the sun may have been linked to an illness eased by sunlight. Now, let's make one thing clear. Mainstream scientists and archaeologists do not accept the ancient astronaut theory. They label it pseudoscience, arguing that such wild claims often distort, misinterpret, or even fabricate evidence. Recently, the U.S. Pentagon released a report. It found no signs of aliens, spaceships, or extraterrestrials visiting Earth. Last summer, former U.S. intelligence officer David Grush told Congress that for decades, America may have secretly run programs to detect and study alien tech. He even claimed the U.S. has wreckage from alien spacecraft and possibly alien bodies. However, a 63-page Pentagon report written by the AARO points out that since the 1960s, many so-called UFO sightings were actually American spy planes or drones. People just misidentified them. Pentagon spokesperson Patrick Ryder said they're open to the idea, but so far there's no evidence of aliens or secret government projects to hide them. He added that most unidentified aerial phenomena are simply ordinary objects or mistaken sightings. Back in February, after several UFOs were shot down over the US and Canada. America formed a cross-agency task force to investigate such incidents. At the time, John Kirby from the National Security Council pointed out, these kinds of phenomena have existed for ages, but previous governments never really tried to explain them. So then, why is the ancient astronaut theory so popular? It's because the human brain craves simple answers to things we can't fully understand. Blaming it on some outside force becomes an easy solution. Supporters of the theory often cherry-pick details, ignoring the wider context of history and its deeper meaning. They also assume alien tech would be just like human technology, and that aliens would care about the same things that humans are interested in. But even if aliens really do exist, that assumption is extremely unlikely to be true. Although the ancient astronaut theory is popular with some groups, the scientific community still classifies it as pseudoscience because it doesn't follow the principles of the scientific method and is often based on distorted facts or faulty analogies. But if you think about it another way, the sheer vastness of the universe is mind-blowing. In this ever-expanding cosmic ocean, are humans really the only intelligent beings with advanced technology? The James Webb Space Telescope is like the ultimate paparazzi of the stars. It can snap pictures of some of the universe's most famous objects, superstar stars, galaxies, nebulae, and more. Basically anything you can imagine, it captures it all. So, if you're a fan of cosmic celebrities, get ready to see some of the most stunning, star-studded photos ever. First up, the Carina Nebula. This photo, with its beautiful name, was released on July 12th. The James Webb Telescope captured its breathtaking scenery. The Carina Nebula is about 7,500 light-years from Earth. Nicknamed the Cosmic Cliffs, it's actually a stellar nursery where new stars are born. Some are several times bigger than our Sun. It sits in the southern sky, in the constellation Carina, and spans about 260 light-years across. The massive stars inside shine incredibly bright, burning extremely hot, lighting up the surrounding clouds of gas and dust. Inside the Carina Nebula, swirling clouds of gas and dust are giving birth to brand new stars. Gravity pulls the gas together, heating it up, making it denser, until eventually a new star is born. But the Carina Nebula isn't just a calm stellar nursery. It's also the site of some of the universe's most violent events. These events send out massive shockwaves, destroying everything in their path. It's chaotic, yet absolutely spectacular. Next up, Stephan's Quintet. This photo was also released on July 12th. Stephan's Quintet is a visual grouping of 5 galaxies, all packed together. It's located in Pegasus, about 290 million light-years away. Think of it like a cosmic family reunion. These galaxies are related and interact with each other in fascinating ways. Their gravity pulls them together, constantly exchanging gas and dust. This interaction triggers some galaxies to collide and merge, sparking bursts of star formation, supernova explosions, and other epic events. Thanks to the James Webb Telescope, we can see shockwaves rippling through these galaxies, along with tidal tails and other jaw-dropping details. Their cosmic dance creates a breathtaking scene, clearly visible in the photo. And then, Jupiter. This image was released by NASA on August 22nd. Jupiter is the largest planet in our solar system, famous for its many moons and swirling cloud layers. But just like Saturn, it also has rings. These rings are made up of tiny dust particles orbiting Jupiter, while Jupiter's rings are much smaller and dimmer than Saturn's. They're still fascinating. Jupiter also has auroras, colorful light shows in its atmosphere, caused when charged particles from the solar wind collide with Jupiter's magnetic field. Just like Earth's auroras, but far brighter and more powerful, usually appearing near Jupiter's poles. So powerful, we can actually see it all the way from space. That's how stunning this light show is. And now, thanks to the James Webb Space Telescope, we finally captured this breathtaking sight. The photo shows Jupiter's auroras and rings, and even two of its moons, Amalthea and Adrastea. Crystal clear and bright, absolutely jaw-dropping. Next, the Cartwheel Galaxy. NASA released this photo on August 2nd, showing the Cartwheel and its companion galaxies. It's named for its shape. And yep, it really does look like a giant wheel. This massive rotating structure is made of stars, gas, and cosmic dust. Deep in the universe, its shape is like a windmill with long spiral arms, held together by the gravity of the galactic core. And at that center, a supermassive black hole. But here's the twist. The Cartwheel is different from other spiral galaxies. It was created when a smaller galaxy smashed into a larger one. That collision sent shockwaves, rippling through gas and dust, eventually shaping it into the wheel we see today. One day, we've got to visit this galaxy ourselves. That would be one thrilling, wild adventure. Next up, the Whirlpool Galaxy, M74. NASA released this image on July 22nd. The James Webb peered through thick layers of gas and dust to reveal this gorgeous view of the star cluster. M74 is a special kind of spiral galaxy, a grand design spiral. That means its arms are sharply defined, with clear outlines. Inside this whirlpool, amazing things are happening. Supernova explosions, stars being born out of clouds of gas and dust, and all sorts of cosmic wonders. Glowing gas and dust, brilliant stars, and swirling spiral arms. All of it makes M74 one of the most eye-catching galaxies in the cosmos. And in Webb's photos, you can see it all crystal clear. Now, the Tarantula Nebula. This nebula, with a slightly scary name, was shown to the world on September 6th. It stretches across a mind-blowing 340 light-years. That's unimaginably far. Thanks to this image, astronomers discovered brand new young stars once hidden by dust. The Tarantula is inside the Large Magellanic Cloud, the biggest and brightest star-forming region in our galactic neighborhood. Its name comes from its shape, which looks like the legs of a giant spider. It spans about 1,000 light-years, home to some of the most massive and brightest stars in the universe. Scientists are fascinated by the Tarantula Nebula because its makeup is similar to star-forming regions back in the early universe, during the cosmic noon, when star formation was at its peak. Thanks to the James Webb Telescope, we can now study this nebula in depth and get a glimpse of what the universe was like at the height of its star-making era. Now let's check out Neptune's rings. This photo was released on September 21st, 2022. In it, you can even spot -1 of Neptune's tiny moons. One of them, Triton, shines brightly in the upper left. Don't mistake it for the sun. That's right, Neptune has rings too. They're like the coolest accessories in space, adding extra style and flair to the planet. But unlike jewelry on Earth, these rings are made of tiny dust particles, not diamonds and gold. So far, astronomers have found 5 rings, named the Gall ring, and the Leverrier ring, the Lassell ring, the Arago ring, and the Adams ring. These rings are relatively young. Not just younger than the solar system, but even younger than Uranus's rings. They may have formed when one of Neptune's inner moons drifted too close to the planet and was torn apart by gravity. Since Voyager flew past Neptune in 1989, humans haven't had such a clear look at these rings. This new observation is a golden opportunity to study them up close. The famous Pillars of Creation photo was released on October 19th. It first became iconic thanks to the Hubble telescope. But with the James Webb, the image looks even more dazzling with incredible detail. These towering columns in the Eagle Nebula stretch about 5 light-years tall. They look like massive rocky cliffs, but far more transparent. This is where cosmic drama unfolds, gas and dust collapsing under gravity, forming dense clumps that will eventually ignite into stars. Meanwhile, the region is flooded with intense radiation, jets of high-energy particles, and supernova blasts, like a cosmic version of Survivor. On the same day, NASA also released another image, the cosmic tarantula. It looks like a giant, eerie hand stretching through space. These photos show breathtaking celestial landscapes, reminding us just how complex the universe really is, and that even in the darkest, most distant corners, amazing things are happening. And the Webb telescope is just getting started. After more than 20 years of construction, it's been in space for just over a year. As the most powerful observatory ever built, it studies the cosmos in infrared, revealing sights invisible to other telescopes. Its main mission: to study the birth of the earliest galaxies and stars. For example, in the star-forming region closest to Earth, NASA shared a Webb image of a small nursery where stars are being born. Look closely and you'll see newborn stars blasting out jets, colliding with swirling clouds of dust and gas in different colors. The red clouds, for instance, are made of molecular hydrogen. Some young stars even show shadowy disks around them, hints of future planets in the making. The photo looks chaotic at first, but astronomers explain that compared to other stellar nurseries, this one is smaller and calmer. Many of the young stars here are about the size of our sun, or a bit smaller. The image was taken with Webb's near-infrared camera, the observatory's main camera, which captures the universe in 2 different infrared bands. Another stunning Webb discovery came from a galaxy about 12.3 billion light-years away, where it detected smoke-like molecules. This is the first time humanity has ever spotted such molecules at such a distance. The galaxy likely formed just a billion years after the Big Bang, and Webb managed to detect soot, compounds usually found in smoke and ash. It's a groundbreaking discovery, pushing back the record of detecting such complex molecules by about a billion years. It's yet another reminder of just how powerful this space observatory really is. Even when one of its spectrometers suffered an unexpected drop in performance, it still pulled off the discovery. Webb has also deepened our understanding of exoplanets. In early 2023, it confirmed its very first exoplanet detection. The planet is located about 41 light-years away from Earth, and it's roughly the same size as Earth. According to NASA, right now Webb is the only telescope capable of studying Earth-sized exoplanets. Planetary atmospheres are being classified through telescopic studies. Researchers believe these results highlight just how precise the telescope really is. They hope it will help us discover more potentially habitable worlds for future colonization. Yes, what looks like empty space is actually buzzing with activity. Webb is equipped to observe all kinds of cosmic phenomena. Take the star W224 as an example. It's on the brink of collapse, about to explode as a supernova. When a star runs out of fuel and reaches the end of its life, it explodes into a supernova, releasing massive clouds of dust and scorching gases into space. This star, captured by Webb, is currently in the Wolf-Rayet phase. a stage before the supernova explosion, when it sheds its outer layers. Webb also spotted another star with unusual cloud patterns, a planetary hybrid, called VHS 1-56b. It's larger than a planet, but too small to be a true star. It glows on its own, with high temperatures, but it doesn't have enough mass to fuse hydrogen. Like a mature star does, objects like this aren't brown dwarfs. They often shine in many colors, most of them beyond human vision. What we see is mostly deep orange or magenta light. This VHS object is 20 times the size of Jupiter and orbits to red dwarf stars, with a period of over 10,000 years. Astronomers first discovered it in 2016, but didn't classify it as a VHS object back then because its strange red glow was still a mystery. Now, with Webb's help, its true nature is finally clear. Unlike Earth's water vapor clouds, its clouds seem to be made of sand, tiny grains of silicate particles. Another Webb breakthrough involves several massive galaxies. Scientists believe they formed shortly after the Big Bang. But according to past knowledge, galaxies like these shouldn't exist at that time. No one expected to find them. Yet Webb still picked up their signals. These galaxies are as massive as the Milky Way and filled with mature red stars. By analyzing their light, astronomers calculated that they formed just 100 to 700 million years after the Big Bang, when the universe was still in its infancy. What makes them truly remarkable is their enormous size and the age of their stars. The telescope's data doesn't match our current understanding of the early universe and how it evolved. It also differs from what Hubble previously observed. Quite a surprise. Webb has also captured, in stunning detail, a distant region of the cosmos, the Pandora Galaxy Cluster. The images show 3 massive clusters merging together to form a supercluster. Their combined mass creates a powerful gravitational lens. Using this natural magnifier, scientists can spot even more galaxies in the background. Astronomers say this latest image of the Pandora cluster is sharper and deeper than any before. Simply breathtaking. Webb also uncovered thousands of young stars in the Tarantula Nebula that had never been seen before. The Tarantula Nebula was named because earlier photos showed dusty filaments shaped like spider legs. It's the largest stellar nursery in our local group of galaxies. Webb's new images help scientists better understand its composition and even detect protostars. Astronomers predict these protostars will eventually grow and shape the nebula's future. Among Webb's many discoveries is the birth of about 50 distant stars. Some of these stars power their surrounding disks. Those disks may one day form planets orbiting far from Earth, billions of light years away in the solar system. Webb even captured an image of a supermassive black hole, weighing as much as 9 billion suns. Its sheer size and ancient age still leave scientists struggling to explain how it exists. Astronomers also used Webb to detect a distant dust ring made of rock and debris containing formamide, a chemical compound considered a molecular building block of life and a key ingredient in most of Earth's organic matter. Webb also helps scientists observe a massive sandstorm raging on a planet 37.8 trillion kilometers away. A truly wild sight. Astronomers were thrilled to find this cosmic treasure, filled with countless grains of dust. Webb's new image of the pillars of creation revealed the true density of stars within this dusty region, and compared with Hubble's 2014 photo, it's a jaw-dropping testament to scientific progress. In 2023, Webb made a series of groundbreaking discoveries. The oldest black hole ever observed starlight measurements that may challenge the standard model of cosmology, and even a glimpse into the sun's violent future. Just a year after Webb launched, it uncovered 6 gigantic galaxies, with as many stars as our Milky Way, formed only 500 million years after the Big Bang. This discovery shook our understanding of the universe, raising new questions about how massive galaxies could form so early. It's a puzzle that's only deepening. However, some astronomers, after multiple simulations, suggest these galaxies may not be that old. They just shine unusually bright. Webb also discovered the 2 oldest black holes ever found. The first, named Sears 1019, is 10 million times the mass of our Sun, formed just 570 million years after the Big Bang. Soon after, an even older, heavier black hole was found, born only 440 million years after the universe began. How these giant, warped structures grew so massive so early in cosmic history remains one of astronomy's biggest mysteries. One theory is that they formed quickly from the collapse of huge gas clouds. Others suggest some black holes may have originated from hypothetical primordial ones. Webb also raised challenges to the standard cosmological model. Yes, the universe is expanding, but at different rates in different regions. For years, to major methods of measuring expansion speeds gave conflicting results. Cosmologists once hoped this was just Hubble's observational uncertainty, but Webb's precise data has shattered that hope, offering yet another, different measurement of cosmic expansion. Another jaw-dropping find: dozens of mysterious clusters of rogue objects drifting in space. They appear in pairs like miniature worlds, some separated by distances 390 times greater than Earth's orbit around the Sun. They're too small to be classified as stars, and unlikely to be planets flung out from solar systems. Even more exciting, Webb can analyze the atmospheres of distant exoplanets. Using this power, it detected possible signs of life on a water world about 120 light-years from Earth. Yes, life. This exoplanet is a sub-Neptune, with a mass between Earth and Neptune, orbiting a red dwarf star in the habitable zone. Atmospheric analysis showed it's rich in hydrogen, methane, and carbon dioxide, classic markers of a hydrogen-rich world. And these kinds of planets might actually host alien life. Stars and galaxies aren't evenly spread across the universe. They're linked together by a massive cosmic web. Picture it as threads made of hydrogen, gas, and dark matter woven together, forming a giant intergalactic highway system. The Webb captured some of the earliest structures of this cosmic web. It spotted a gaseous filament made up of 10 tightly packed galaxies, stretching over more than 3 million light-years. This structure formed just 830 million years after the Big Bang. Part of it even surrounds a brilliant black hole. The Webb also shattered another cosmic distance record, spotting the most distant gravitational lens ever observed, an Einstein ring. It's formed when the light from a faraway galaxy gets bent by a dense, mysterious foreground galaxy, creating a perfect ring. And this one is 21 billion light-years from Earth. Keep in mind, the universe itself is only 13.8 billion years old, so the light from this object has actually been traveling for nearly twice the age of the universe. Finally, Webb revealed a stunning ring-shaped nebula, the remains of an exploded star. At its center lies a tiny white dwarf, the last dense core remnant left behind after the blast. This explosion likely destroyed or flung away every planet that once orbited it. And in about 5 billion years, our own solar system may face the very same fate.